Thank you for coming in, both of you. I just want to make sure I understand the problem, because we can't really fashion a solution without understanding the problem. Now, my understanding from what you're saying is that the state is now mandating a certain level of training in order to continue to do what you've been doing for the last 20 years, but there is no such training available in the state, and the only way to get it is to fly to Las Vegas and spend 300 hours training in Las Vegas to come back to do exactly what you've been doing for the last 20 years? Is that right?
That almost sounds funny as you say that, sir. But that's what Cornwall is facing.
Okay, well, I represent small towns in eastern Connecticut, very similar to Cornwall. We have the same problems, the same geography, essentially, the same populations, and the same response times, essentially, as in your area. And I think it will be a shock to some to learn that there are large sections of this state that are very similar to that and have that same situation. But even with the more populated areas, many of them still have volunteers and tight budgets. And I just don't understand how the state has created that situation without any reasonable solution. So what happens if you can't afford it and don't get that certification? Do you need to stop responding to calls?
We need to stop responding as AEMTs as of next June. If we do not write a letter to the state asking them to change our AEMT status to an EMT status, when we expire, when they make that change, we are no longer able to respond as anything. So we have to write a letter if we want to revert to a B to continue practicing at that level.
So if you do that, you will be able to provide less service. Is that correct?
I would say significantly less. Right now, we're an advanced life service vehicle and service, and we would have to revert to a basic level. And the implications for a town like Cornwall are profound. One, I have battled this issue since Lenny Gersha and Dr. Gavin, served in the Department of Public Health. And this has been a very contentious level of care. And I think it's been very contentious because we are kind of a rarity. Perhaps you come from a similar setting and you can relate. But when you look at data composed to see if this is a useful intervention, if these modalities are of any benefit in patient care, if they improve patient outcome, the data, there's not much data that come from communities like Cornwall and apparently where you reside. And so the data is not very supportive of this modality. When our doctor looked at our situation, Dr. Ron Santos at Sharon Hospital, he said this is a huge intervention in helping our patients. And hopefully Matt has helped us put an exclamation mark on how important that level can be.
Now, I apologize for interrupting you, but you have to dumb it down a little for me. When you say modalities, I'm not understanding what you're talking about.
Okay, the difference between, all right, really simple. The difference between a basic level and the AEMT level, it's a little more complicated, but the two big things are we have certain adjuncts we can use to keep an airway open and keep an airway clean and breathe for a patient. Okay. We have a combi tube that's not available at the lower level. The other huge modality that we have is we're allowed to establish and run IVs. Okay. Neither of those are permitted at the basic level, at least at this point in time. Perhaps something that could be considered would be taking the basic level and adding those two modalities to the basic level. That might, some states in this country, I believe, have done that. But this modality has been very controversial with the state, and this state has, I think it's safe to say, has been trying to eliminate this level of care for a long time. The last time I was down here was to testify when a bill was introduced. A bill was introduced to eliminate this level of care. It's incredibly burdensome on OEMS to maintain this level for so few people. It takes
Who is it that has mandated this additional training? Is it the legislature? Is it the Department of Health? Like how is it that
I don't think that was a bill. I think that's a mandate that came out of OEMS, but I'm not. I cannot say that with assurity.
Okay. Do you know if whomever mandated that is aware of the consequences to small rural towns like yours and mine?
I don't know. I know that I have addressed this several times over the last 15 years with many different people. The people change. The commissioners, the head of OEMS, those people change. And are they aware exactly of Cornwall's situation? I don't know. I've been here before and I've spoken on this issue before, and up till today, or up until now, the state has thought it's valuable enough, the legislators especially thought this was valuable enough that it should be preserved, even though the OEMS wanted to, had submitted legislation to eliminate this level of care.
Okay, I think my last question probably is, clearly your department and likely the departments in my district need to be able to continue to do what they've been doing. Is there a group or some constituency, other departments, other chiefs that believe otherwise and believe that the additional expensive training needs to be required even for small rural towns like yours?
I don't understand your question, sir.
You're obviously advocating not to change, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Or to be able to continue doing what we're doing.
Right. Who is it that, are there people in this room? Are there other EMS or other departments or other geographic areas that are advocating for the change that you know of?
I would hope that there are many people advocating for the new National Registry standards, both at the basic level, at the AEMT level, and at the paramedic level. The new standards were developed because these new standards of practice appear to optimize patient outcome. We support that, and I think everyone else does. What I think where we meet a lot of resistance is people say, well, you guys are trained to the 1985 standard. That's archaic. And they said, you need to be trained with the newest technology, the newest standards, the newest modalities. And we would concur, except for the fact that after all that training, Cornwall would be doing exactly what we're doing today and what we've been doing for the last 20 years. Once again, at no charge to our patients. We still provide all of our services at no charge.
So you just confused me. So are you supporting the change or objecting to the change?
I was saying this change. What I'm saying is I always support Connecticut, Cornwall, and everyone else upgrading to the newest training and the newest standards. I think staying abreast of the changes that all this data collection, has brought to us is a progressive thing to do and will make us better providers. But in this situation, pursuing that new standard isn't going to change what we do at all. It might renew our training, it might give us the newest information, the latest data, but it won't change what Cornwall's doing, and it will lead to a tremendous decrease if we have to let that go. So we support those standards, We do support the 2009 National Registry Standard, but we have no affordable way to get to that and to accommodate the mandates that will be put in place next June. Does that answer your question?
To some extent. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.